The fragrant coral palace gleamed like a blushing pearl in its shell. Today the ever-changing waters were a brilliant azure, the waves cresting with white foam. As we walked over the crystalline ridge, something caught my heart, unwelcome memories flooding me from when I was last here. The palace guards bowed to Li Wei, recognizing him at once. While they knew me too, his presence helped us obtain a swift audience despite our lack of civility in appearing unannounced. We were ushered into a spacious room as an attendant left in search of Prince Yanji. Li Wei stared through the clear wall at a magnificent coral reef glowing in jewel tones. Bright-colored fish darted through it, wary of the larger shadows which passed above, the hunters in search of prey. His expression was somber, perhaps contemplating the impossible situation I had dragged him into. "I know this is not what you want, but thank you for coming with me," I told him. "Many will disagree with what you're planning." His gaze shifted to me, as opaque as the waters beyond. "But you'll always have my support." Simple words, spoken in his quiet manner, yet how they affected me. The door slid open as Prince Yanxi entered. His pearl-gray brocade robe was shot through with gold, a belt of lapis lazuli fastened around his waist. I surreptitiously pressed my palms against my skirt in a futile attempt to smooth out the creases. At least the dark color hid the smears of dirt, sweat, and blood. He greeted Li Wei before turning to me with a smile. "First Archer, have you decided to leave the cold celestial kingdom for our warm shores?" I shook my head ruefully. "Unfortunately, we're here under less desirable circumstances, Your Highness." The urgency in my tone banished his mirth. "If there is anything you need, you have only to ask," he assured me, sitting down and gesturing for me to do the same. I remained standing, my fingers already untying the strings of my pouch and tipping the pearls into my palm, tingling against my skin and pulsing with inner fire. Prince Yanji leaned closer to inspect them, his head jerking up. "Are those the pearls of the venerable dragons?" "Yes." "How did you get them?" he asked in wonder. "They were given to me." The words stumbled out, halting and uncertain. I was unused to unveiling my secrets so easily. Even now, a part of me feared that I had made a mistake in coming here, that Prince Yanji would be obligated to surrender us to the Celestial Kingdom. Perhaps sensing my unease, he stiffened, drawing away. "Who gave them to you? Who has the right to do so?" "The dragons themselves," I replied, a little stung by his doubt. But I recalled how greatly he cared for the dragons, and I, myself, was still in disbelief to be entrusted with their pearls. My father tasked Xin Ying to gather the dragon's pearls for him. They were released from the mortal realm using his seal, Li Wei explained. Prince Yanji leapt to his feet, a face aglow. "The dragons are freed. I must inform my father." I moved in front of him. "Your Highness, your father will know in good time, for now there is more urgent matter we need your help on." "Urgent?" "I must ask you something about these pearls." His gaze probed me, guarded once more as he sat back down. "I cannot help but wonder, why does the Celestial Emperor desire the pearls now? And why would the dragons relinquish them?" "I cannot speak for His Celestial Majesty's intentions. When I agreed, I did not realize what the pearls meant to the dragons. Rest assured, I have promised to protect their freedom." He did not reply, his head tilted to one side as though he had not yet decided whether to trust us. Inhaling deeply, I plunged ahead. "The enchantment which binds the dragon's spiritual essence to the pearls, can it be undone?" My heart thudded as I awaited his answer. "Why?" He looked at me like I was a puzzle he was trying to figure out. "I want to restore the dragon's essence to them. They will never be beholden to another again." "Why do you want to do this?" Why not just return the pearls to the dragons?" he probed, ever perceptive. I thought of my mother, whom Prince Yanji might still be ignorant of. "In truth, I am being selfish too. If I give the pearls back to the dragons, I will have failed in my task. I do not want that. The Emperor has promised me something which I want very much." He arched an eyebrow. "It must be something important, First Archer." "Nothing is more important than family," I said in a low voice, "as you yourself know, Your Highness." Prince Yanji's expression softened as he leaned back against his chair. He was thinking of his brother? His parents. "This enchantment you speak of is a powerful one." He rubbed his chin pensively. The seal was formed through blood and magic, and through those it can be broken, but only with that of the rightful owner of the pearls. It was possible. There was still a chance. Every enchantment required magic, though I could not help quailing at the mention of blood. He hesitated, glancing at Li Wei. "Speak freely, your highness. You're among friends, none who will take offense," said Li Wei. Prince Yanji laced his fingers together, his elbows resting on the table. "First Archer Xingyin, was it you alone that the dragons offered their pearls?" One Eye nodded, his frown deepened. "Not much is known of their ruler, the warrior who saved them. Some believe he was a relation to the Celestial Emperor. If so, why would the dragons not offer their allegiance to you or your father?" he asked Li Wei. The gold sculptures on the rooftop of the Jade Palace, the embroidery on the imperial robes. Was the rumor true, or were these merely symbols to perpetuate a powerful myth? Had the Emperor coveted the might of the dragons all this time? Had their punishment been rooted in their refusal to bow to him? In Celestial Kingdom, we don't have much information on the dragons. All I know is they have no wish to serve my father. They made that clear when they were freed. Li Wei paused. "Why do you ask?" Prince Yanji sighed. "Releasing the dragon's essence is no simple matter. It requires a great sacrifice, one which the warrior paid to bind their essence to the pearls, half of one's life force to complete the enchantment." He leaned across the table toward me. "The dragons yielded their pearls to you, which means they acknowledge you as their true owner. Therefore, it is you alone who must pay this price." His words pounded into my mind. Half my life force. Unlike my energy, which could be recovered through recuperation, it might take decades to regain my life force, centuries perhaps. I would be weakened immensely so. Drawing the dragon bow would be a challenge. How could I protect those I loved? How could I defend myself? Li Wei seized my hand, holding it tight. "Xingyin, don't do this. There must be another way." I pulled fear from his grasp, conscious of Prince Yanji's penetrating stare. It would be easy to walk away, to let fate take its course, to have the decision made for me instead of grappling with it. But I had come so close to losing the pearls before. I dared not risk it again. I did not know how much longer I had. Even now, Wenji's troops might be closing in on us, and the Emperor must be growing impatient at my absence. I bit the inside of my lip, biting down harder until the soft flesh gave way, stinging as the warm tang of blood filled my mouth. If Prince Yanji was wrong, or if the enchantment failed, I would have weakened myself for nothing, and if I did not surrender the pearls to the Celestial Emperor, then I would earn his eternal enmity. Would he honor the promise not to harm my mother? As for myself, a shiver coursed through my flesh. But magic was not the only strength I possessed. I had lived without it before. I had tricked Wenji with my words and a fistful of petals, defeated a demon prince with my powers bound. If this worked, in one stroke I could free the dragons and return the pearls, fulfilling in name the bargain I had struck with the Emperor. I would still have a chance of freeing my mother. "I will do it." My hand shook as I dropped the pearls into my pouch, knotting the cord tight. "Your Highness, I am grateful for your assistance." Now that the decision had been made, I was eager to proceed. "You'll need a weapon, a powerful one," he said. "Blood will lift the seal and your life force will open the path. But the dragon's essence needs to be expelled from the pearls. If your weapon is too weak, you'll drain yourself further. There's no turning back once the enchantment is underway." Left unspoken was his warning. You might die. The jade dragon bow was a comforting weight across my back. Will this do? I unslung it from my shoulder, laying it on the table before him. Prince Yanji traced its intricate carvings reverently. When the bow rattled at his touch, he drew away at once. "You wield the jade dragon bow? How is that possible?" "I'm not sure," I replied honestly. "It is the bow which allows me to wield it." "This is why the dragons gave the pearls to you," he said. "They did not want to," I confessed, the heat of my shame rising in me. But I was tempted by their power and arrogant in believing that I could keep them safe. I was wrong. I lifted the bow from the table. "Your Highness, I apologize for our haste, but we must go. Is there someplace secluded nearby where we might summon the dragons. He rose to his feet. The southern tip has a quiet stretch of land. If you have no objections, I will bring you there myself. A wistful smile played on his lips. I confessed. I've long desired to see the venerable dragons. We might be legends to mortals, but the dragons are legends to us all. Prince Yanji's cloud carried us to the beach a short distance away. Hemmed in the towering cliffs and jagged rocks, it was no wonder that it was deserted despite its pristine waters. As we stood upon the white sand, I stared at the pearls in my hand. Would this work? Soon I would find out. Drawing a deep breath, I whispered the dragons' names into the pearls, fire flaring in their lustrous depths. For a single heartbeat, all was still, sea and sky melding as one. With a whispering rush of the waters morphed from azure to green, the waves surging higher, cresting with white foam as they raced to the shore. On the horizon a whirlpool yawned, circling wider and wider until it threatened to swallow the ocean whole. From its depths the 4 dragons shot forth, soaring into the sky. Cold water splashed over us, the drops gleaming in the sunlight. The air thrummed with their might as they landed on the beach before us, gold claws buried in the sand. Prince Yanji staggered back, his jaw falling open. His robes were damp, his hair sticking to his brow. As I mopped the water from my own face, I tried not to smile at the sight of the immaculate prince so disheveled and drenched. The dragons' immense bodies cast the beach into shadow, yet their steps were graceful and light as they prowled toward us. The lone dragon's amber gaze fixed upon me, its voice reverberating in my mind. Xingyin, daughter of Chang'e and He Yi, why did you summon us? Prince Yanji inhaled sharply. Had the lone dragon spoken to us all? I shot him an apologetic look. I had been most discourteous guest, leaving him in the dark till now. I would have been content to stand there, drinking in the sight of the dragons in their glory, but I dared not waste much more time. Venerable dragons, I wish to release your spiritual essence from the pearls and return it to you. Is this what you want as well? I spoke plainly, going to the heart of the matter. They reared their heads, the air crackling and with excitement. The long dragon's voice rang between my ears. We wished this more than to swim in the sea and fly in the air. We could not ask this of you before. This sacrifice must come from a willing heart. My chest clenched at the hope in their eyes, burning golden bright. Then I will try. The dragons bent their long necks in a graceful nod, their gazes fixed hungrily on the pearls in my hand. Prince Yanji drew out a dagger with a lapis hilt. Are you ready? I nodded, holding my palm out to him, but Li Wei stepped between us, catching my wrist. His face was pale, drawn with anxiety. Xingyan, be careful. If you don't stop when you should, I will. She must do this alone, Prince Yanji warned. You cannot interfere once the enchantment is underway. She will die if you do. Li Wei ignored him, speaking to me alone. Are you sure you want to do this? You don't have to decide now. I have decided, I told him quietly. This is my choice. He fell silent, finally taking the dagger from Prince Yanji. When I nodded, his knuckles whitened around its hilt, dragging its blade across my palm. A good cut, a clean one, neither too shallow nor too deep. The cold metal numbed the sting as my skin split, hot blood spilling forth. I curled my fingers into a tight fist and turned it over, letting it drip over the pearls like crimson rain. My insides twisted into knots at the thought of what lay ahead. Closing my eyes, I followed the trail of lights in my body until I reached the shining core of my life force, tucked deep in my head. With a wrench, I clawed it apart. How wrong this felt, a violation of myself. But I did not stop, my life force surging free, running through my veins like a river undammed, strong, indomitable, roiling with power. Brighter than the infinite stars, more luminous than the moon. But when my life force flowed from my hands into the pearls, a sudden weakness swept over me, my strength snatched from my limbs. I stumbled, almost falling down. Clenching my jaw until it ached, I locked my knees into place, fighting the instinctive urge to stem the outflow. My life force slid over the pearls, turning my blood a glitter, a heartbeat before it was sucked within as water into a sponge. The pearls floated from my palms into the air, the radiance within them burning brighter, until each was an orb of pure flame. Only then did I halt the flow of my life force, slumping to my knees upon the sand, strangled gasps sliding from my throat. Sweat streaked down my face as a numbing exhaustion crawled up my legs and arms. Where still was the gaping void within, an intrinsic part of me torn away. I could only hope it was enough. Li Wei crouched down and clasped my hands. His energy surged into me, coursing through my body. Unlike the other times he had healed me, though, its warmth was hollow, its comfort weak. Could I no longer channel the power he gave me like he was pouring water into an overflowing cup? There was no time to ponder this. I was not done. I pulled free, panting as I pushed myself off the ground. Staggering a few steps back, I raised the jade dragon bow. Once, it had curved in my grip as silk, but now the cord was unyielding, cutting into my fingers until it was slippery with blood. My muscles strained, yet I held fast until, finally, a thin bolt of sky fire glimmered. A pang struck me at its diminished strength, but this was no time for self-pity. Aiming it at the red pearl, I released the lightning at its flaming center. It struck in a blinding flash, a cloud of gold bursting from the pearl. The lone dragon craned its neck forward, opening its jaws wide to draw the glittering motes into its body. Its chest gleamed as though it had swallowed a star before fading to dark. The crimson pearl dropped onto the sand, intact, yet its inner fire extinguished. The other dragons swung to me, their faces alight with anticipation. 3 times I drew the bow, shooting 3 arrows at the remaining pearls. Each time the golden cloud erupted, wafting into the waiting jaws of a dragon. My energy was almost drained, my fingers cut to the bone as my blood scattered across the white sand like plum blossoms in the snow. 4 pearls lay on the ground. Bending down, I gathered them into my hands, sun-bright, fire-red, frost-white, midnight black. They were beautiful, yet something vital in them had been lost. Once you had seen the full moon, the crescent lost its charm. The dragon's eyes shimmered with flecks of gold as their mouths curved into a smile. Their voices reverberated as one, the sound more exquisite than any song in the world. You have our gratitude. We are whole once more, our own masters. Humbled and too exhausted to speak, I bowed to them instead. With its claw, the long dragon plucked a shining scale from its body, as perfect as a petal from a rose in bloom. It offered the scale to me as it inclined its head. Should you need us, immerse this in liquid and we will come to you. I took the scale, clutching it tight. Without another word, they spun around and dove into the water. As the final ripple from their tails vanished, the sea calmed, once again mirroring the sky above. Li Wei slipped his hand over mine, his magic already coursing through me, healing my ravaged flesh. But there was nothing he could do for the gaping emptiness within. Leaning against him, I stared at the ocean, feeling strangely bereft. Prince Yanji stood beside us, as still as a statue, his gaze fixed upon the distance. Your Highness, thank you for your aid, I told him. His smile was radiant. It is I who should thank you, daughter of the moon goddess. What I have seen today will warm me for eternity. I flushed, filled with a fierce pride at his unflinching address. But my mother was still a prisoner, our fates hanging in precarious balance. I had no regrets. I was glad for what I had done, yet it was shadowed by mounting dread at the confrontation that loomed before me. The Celestial Emperor was not known for his mercy, and after today I had given him ample reason to show me none.